Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to a new top 10 countdown I'm doing. Now, I've seen some videos here on YouTube talking about a top 10 on these, and I figured, I might as well do it my own way. Now, as you can see by the title, it is the top 10 animated and comic couples, basically. Basically, the top 10 animated couples. Now, what does this mean? Well, this deals with animated couples. It deals with the fact that it's associated with comic book and animation. So it's animated comic book couples. That's what it says on there. So, and here I'm going to count down the top 10. Some of you may agree with my list. Some of you may not agree with my list. But these to me are the top 10 animated / comic book couples out there. So, sit back, relax, enjoy, and let's go. Alright, we start this countdown off with number 10. The number 10 couple, if you will, in my opinion, of animation and comic books. And the number 10 couple is Underdog and Sweet Polly Purebred. That's right. Now, in case some of you don't know who these characters are, I highly suggest you go out and you rent from Netflix or whatever Hollywood Video, whatever place you go and get your movies from. I suggest you check this show out. You Google it, Google information on it, go on YouTube. It's bound to be there. But Underdog and Sweet Polly Purebred are basically I guess you could say back then in the 60s and 70s, was the kind of, I guess you could say, the anamorphic version of Superman and Lois. The thing about it, though, was unlike Lois at times, well, Lois did it mostly too, but unlike Lois at times, Sweet Polly Purebred was always there, almost in the middle of the action with Underdog. And anytime she was in trouble, she would do something that Lois Lane never could do. She would actually sing a song to get Underdog to come rescue her. Now, believe it or not, Sweet Polly Purebred is a lot more than just a damsel in distress. She is very funny. There's no doubt about it. And she can be very logical, and when need be, she can kind of stand up for what she believes in. Underdog, on the other hand, just like Superman, has an alter ego. His name is Shoeshine. Now, just like Clark Kent, Shoeshine likes Sweet Polly Purebred, but just like Clark Kent, he can't allow Sweet Polly Purebred to know that he and Underdog are one and the same. Although I wish someday they just let it happen. But to me, as far as couples go, this is probably the best couple, one of the best couples out there in animation. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind, because you go on DeviantArt, you can go on Finian, you can Google it. You can find all sorts of fan art with him and Sweet Polly Purebred together. So that is number 10. So this, to start off, is the number 10 couple here on my list. Sweet Polly Purebred and Underdog. Alright, at number 9. At number 9, folks, this is going to be a little crazy. Some people may give me some flack on it. But at number 9, from the Walt Disney family themselves, is Donald Duck and Daisy Duck. Now, I know you're saying these two should be higher up on the countdown. Well, they should be, but to me, they're at number 9 because of the fact that they kind of bicker at times. And what couple doesn't? But the thing is, they really haven't done much with Donald and Daisy as they should. I mean, they had the potential to do something with them in House of Mouse. They had potential to do something with them in all these movies, like the Christmas movies. And they did do something with them in the Christmas movies. I will say that. I will say that they did do something with them. But the truth is they've had potential to do more with these guys, and they haven't really done much since then. I mean, all you ever see with Donald and Daisy is them on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and that's it. So, but, I'm not trying to say Donald and Daisy don't deserve to be higher up. I mean, I'm pretty sure on anybody else's list, they deserve to be higher up. But, the truth is, again, they really haven't done much with them besides put them on the Clubhouse. If they do a lot more with them, I'd probably make an exception, but to me, I think they just need to do just a little bit more with these two for them to go higher up. I mean, I know you're saying, well, they did do something with them back in the 90s. Yes, they did. They put them on Quack Pack. I'm not going to deny that. That was the potential they had, but they dropped the ball, according to many people. They dropped the ball on that. So, to me, yes, they're a great couple, but they just really haven't done much lately with the characters. And I like Daisy, I like Donald. Believe me, I grew up on the characters. I just feel they could have done more with them. And, really, that's all I'm going to say. But I do, like I said, I am a fan of both Donald Duck and Daisy Duck. I just wish they could have done more with them. So, that's all I'm going to say. And that is why Donald and Daisy are number 9 on my top 10 countdown. At number 8 on the countdown, this may surprise some TMNT fans, but number 8, and this is coming from the comic books, if you will. This is the first out of the comic books. Number 8 on this couple's countdown, Raphael and Ninjara, otherwise known as Raphael and Yumiko. Now you might say to yourself, or you might ask yourself, who is Ninjara? Who is Yumiko? Well, I'll tell you who Yumiko / Ninjara is. Yumiko Ninjara was introduced on the last page of issue 28 and fully introduced in issue 29. She was originally associated with a villainous character called Dog Chin or something. I can't think of his name right now. But originally associated with this villainous character. Then she saw what he was really up to, and that changed her ways. Also, the fact that she was getting some respect from the Turtles due to her fighting skills and everything, and kind of getting attracted to Raphael, it helped change her ways, and thus Ninjara became part of the Ninja Turtle team from basically the end of issue 29 all the way up to issue 72, I believe. Issue 72, I believe. So, she'd been with him for quite a long time. I will say that. And she really established herself as a fan favorite. The only problem was that they never really gave her an opportunity to go beyond the comic books and into animation. The closest we ever got in animation was Mona Lisa in the episode Raphael Meets His Match. And then about 4 years later, about 6 years later, with Venus in Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. But when she got paired up with Raphael, it was like instant magic. People enjoyed it, they liked it, and believe it or not, some were disappointed. If not, most fans were disappointed when she broke up with him, because she found love. Because what happened, and to basically make Ninja Turtles at the time more separate and different than the other Adventures title that Archie had, what happened was that in the final issues that she appeared in, she ended up meeting another clan of wolves, foxes, that were very similar to her in humanoid portion. And thus she ended up falling in love with the leader of this clan. Because at the same time, she was starting to fall out of love with Raphael. But she still loved him. And she was supposed to come back in a later story that never got published, but did finally get published, I think, but I'm not sure. But Ninjara definitely established herself not just as a member of the team, but as Raphael's girlfriend. In fact, these two had a 48-page comic book dedicated to them. That's how popular they were. That's how over they were, not just with the fans, but with Archie, but the people at Archie Comics. They had a 48-page special comic book dedicated directly to them. I mean, and the interaction with them was great. There was no doubt about it. I mean, Ninjara really fit in with the team. So, I don't think you could have asked for a better companion for someone like, say, a Raphael, who's always been known mostly throughout his history as an angry character. I don't think you could have asked for someone more to really complement that style and kind of help him to start to settle down. I don't think you could have asked for someone better. And Ninjara was just that character. It's just unfortunate that they let her go. They didn't use her anymore after issue 72, or after the so-called story that they were supposed to republish. And the last time I saw her was in the Radio Comics publication of Furlong, and that was it. So, but to me, they really had something here with Raphael and Ninjara, and that's why Raphael and Ninjara is number 8 on my countdown. Number 7 on the countdown also comes from the comic books, and they're probably one of the most popular couples you could ever ask for in the comic books. And I'm talking about the very legendary, and this is going to be a big one, Scott Summers and Jean Grey. Now you talk about a very popular couple in the comic books as well as animation. This is probably one of them. Because I can tell you, this couple has so much history, it's unheard of. I mean, that history between the two even continues to this day. I mean, there has not been one X-Men related comic book or straightforward X-Men comic book or straightforward X-Men cartoon or related X-Men cartoon to where it is not focused at some times, and if not most times, on Jean Grey and Scott Summers. I mean, you want some good examples? I'll give you a good example. Try the Phoenix Saga. That focused a lot on them too. Try the Dark Phoenix Saga. That focused too. I mean, there's been all sorts of them all sorts of stories that at times would focus on Jean Grey and Scott Summers, and it just, no matter how some people felt, others liked it. They loved it. I mean, it's no matter what happened. Everybody was always wondering about this and that. Stan Lee, give the guy credit, and whoever worked with him, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and all the other writers and artists that came afterwards. Give these people credit for really putting an emphasis on this couple at times when it was necessary, because they really got people intrigued. They got people interested like you wouldn't believe. It was just unbelievable, unreal. I mean, there has not been one time that I've ever read an issue of X-Men. There's been not one time that I have not watched an episode of the original 90s X-Men, or I have read an issue, like I say, of X-Men. There's not been one time I haven't watched an episode of X-Men Evolution, or even recently Wolverine in the X-Men, and not anticipate what a lot of fans have anticipated, the coming together of Jean and Scott. I'm not one that hasn't, gone through that and anticipated. I mean, I'm not, just someone that says, it's no big deal. To me, it's always been a big deal. Because like I said, I grew up on the X-Men. Heck, I have a distant cousin that used to work for Marvel. A distant cousin. So to me, I know, in a way, how much effort gets put into these stories and this art that focuses on these stories. And that's why people were always intrigued, always interested at times when a story would focus on Jean Grey and Scott Summers. I mean, you want good examples? I'll give you some good examples, folks. I'll give you some good examples. As a matter of fact, I have some issues here with me. You want a good example? I'll give you one. You should try X-Men War Song and X-Men Phoenix End Song. You should try those, folks. And I'll tell you why. Because those are the stories you have to watch. Those are the, not watch, but read, because it really focuses on this couple. It's definitely worth watching. It's definitely worth reading. So that is why at number 7 is Scott Summers' Cyclops and Jean Grey / Phoenix / Marvel Girl on this countdown. You can argue they should be higher. Go ahead. But they're still there at number 7. All right. Getting back to animation, at number 6 is a Disney couple that, if you think about it, well, they're not like a Donald and a Daisy, but I guess you could say back in the 90s, they were sort of being, in my opinion, they were sort of being touted as this generation's version of Mickey and Minnie. And I'm talking about Bonkers the Bobcat and Fondier at number 6 from the animated show Bonkers, and before that, the animated show Raw Tunage. Now you might say to yourself, why would I put these guys on the countdown? Because, believe it or not, fans love these characters. They love this couple. I mean, if you've watched the Raw Tunage shorts of Bonkers that got repackaged into the Bonkers series, and even some of the Bonker episodes themselves, like say Casa Bonkers, it shows you that Bonkers is willing to do just about anything for this girl. And she's acceptive of it. And you know what? What's weird is you would think a girl like, say, a Fondier here would be a little turned off by the wild antics, of someone like a Bonkers, but she's not. She actually embraces it. She loves it. I guess she finds it attractive. And there's not been one cartoon, and there's actually been very few, maybe 2 or 3 or something like that, animated shorts, to where she hasn't kissed him at the end, but she's kissed him at the beginning in a few of them. At the beginning, she's kissed him, and I think in the black and white one, Get Me a Pizza on Time, something like that, she kisses him at the beginning. So again, there's not been an episode, though, an animated short that I know of, that she has not kissed him in, except for maybe 2 or 3. And either she kissed him at the end or at the beginning, it kind of showed you that she did have an attraction to this guy. And you want to talk about, potential. They had a lot of potential with this couple, no doubt about it. I mean, Casa Bonkers, to me, was like that first step they needed to take to really giving this couple potential. I mean, because here's the premise here's the thing about it. They start off with that rubber room song that you hear, I think, in the first packaging of animated shorts. Then after that, they have Bonkers and Miranda sitting down for lunch, obviously. And as Bonkers is turning his head to ask his friend Bullfinch for another round of a drink he was drinking, he turns his head and there's Fawn, and basically says, "Bullfinch, go give her a banana split, or whatever a banana fizzy, or whatever it's called." And as soon as Bullfinch delivers it to her, she's walking out the door, and Bonkers is chasing after her. And then it's only towards the end of the episode does Bonkers finally get her. So it shows you. And here's the thing. He tells Fawn at the end of it, as they're walking away, and he's got his arm on her back, basically on her shoulder, if you will. He says he's her one. He says he says to her, "You're my one and only." And then he squeezes her real tight, and she doesn't complain. She doesn't slap her or anything. She likes it. So that, to me, was the first step in what could have been potentially something big, but they didn't really capitalize on it. And I believe with those other episodes that got trashed or put in the vault because they weren't so, they weren't done right and all that, except for the 19 that were aired, those other ones, like I said, they got put in the vault and all that. To me, I believe some of those could have had the potential for these two that we were looking for. But, what are you going to do, folks? What are you going to do? I mean, it's not I can't have any say. I don't have no say in it. You don't have no say in it, really, unless Disney's like, okay, we need to do something. And you know what? Maybe they will. Maybe with this new partnership with Boom Studios and perhaps even Marvel, maybe they'll do something finally. We don't know. But to me, I thought this couple was a real cute couple. I thought they had a lot of potential. They had great chemistry together. There's no doubt about it. I always got a kick out of Bonkers going crazy for her because, can you blame him? But to me, they had a lot of potential, and I thought they were real. They had real good chemistry, and that's why they're number 6 on this countdown, and that's Bonkers and Fondia from Disney's Bonkers. All right, at number 5, this sort of has to do more with comic books than it did with the cartoon that the comic book was sort of inspired from. And yes, you can blame me because I'm a fan of the franchise, but I've always felt that this couple really deserves to be up here. And I'm talking about none other than Antoine de Coulet and Bunny Rabbit. That's right, or Bunny de Coulet as she's known. Now you might say to me, well, why are they on the countdown? What have they ever done? Well, folks, let me explain something. Bunny and Antoine's relationship, as far as the comic book goes, began in issue 47 and has continued, hopefully now, to this day. I mean, here's the thing. There was a hint of them getting together in an earlier issue, many issues before, in a side story. But issue 47 is what really cemented them as a couple, and they had been a couple for a very long time. And it wasn't until issue 174 that they finally tied the knot. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at 127 issues, basically, of them just being a couple and not being married until issue 174. Now, some people have had their opinions about it. Some people like the idea that Bunny and Antoine are married. Some don't. I think one of the people that doesn't like the idea that Antoine and Bunny are married is the current head writer, Ian Flynn. I don't think he likes the idea. That's why he's probably doing this whole Genesis deal or something. Probably to fix that. But, a lot of people do like it. And a lot of people like myself were actually happy the day that Bunny and Antoine got together and finally got married. Or finally basically got married because it had been a long time coming. I mean, the previous writer before Ian said he was going to wait a little bit. He was going to let these big events that were going to take place and all that occur and then finally tie the knot with them. Or finally have them tie the knot. But Ian wanted to get ahead of that, wanted to get it out of the way, and then focus on his version of what was going to happen later on. So, yeah. Amazing, huh? And what's funny about this is they really didn't get the honeymoon until about 20-something issues later. Or 40 issues later or something like that. And it was in Sonic Universe, the spin-off comic, that they finally got their anniversary in. Well, not anniversary, but the honeymoon in. And I've always liked, but to me, I look at this and I thought, wow, this is really, really something. when I read issue 47, I really wasn't reading all the issues at times because financially I couldn't get to them, and where I lived I didn't have no comic book shop, so I couldn't get them anyway, and I couldn't financially afford a subscription. But when I read issue 47 and I saw them get together, I was surprised. It really caught me off guard. And you know what? It's been the best decision that Archie Comics, Sega, and whoever was the writer, Ken Penders, Carl Bolas, whoever, made at that time, because it's exactly what fans were waiting for. Because fans said it got them away from another situation, and I'll bring that situation up real soon too. But to me, Antoine and Bunny are one of the best couples out there by far, comic book or animation wise. And what's funny is they were friends in the animated series Sonic Sat AM, but they were never a couple. I'm thinking perhaps that had the series continued like the late Ben Hurst was hoping it would, that perhaps maybe there would have been something, but we never saw anything materialize after the second season when it would come to them. But thank Archie Comics that something did materialize, and it did materialize in the form of Antoine and Bunny. So you may argue they should be higher, that's your opinion, but they're in the top 5 of this top 10 countdown, so consider that a good thing. And that is Antoine and Bunny at number 5. All right, at number 4, now you may argue that they should have been at number 5, but believe it or not, this couple actually got me interested in couples when it comes to comic books and animation. And they have been one of my top favorites of all time. I'm talking about from X-Men, Jean Grey. Not Jean Grey, but Rogue. I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else. But at number 4 is Rogue and Gambit. That's right. This couple is I always liked the chemistry between this couple because it was so funny at times. I mean, Gambit would always try to get a kiss from Rogue, and Rogue would try to warn him, hey, you want to end up in a coma? You want to end up like somebody else I knew? And what made this chemistry work so well is Rogue wanted to do the same thing. She wanted to kiss him. She wanted to hold his hand without wearing a glove and all that. And that's what made the chemistry so well done, not just in animation, but in the comic books, because, Gambit wanted to help her achieve that. But she never could. But the chemistry, again, was so well done, so well written in the comic books and in animation. That it was, you just enjoyed it. You just loved it when these two got together. I mean, when a comic book would focus on them, it would focus on them, and that would be the whole comic book. And despite how people feel about comic books focusing on romance and all that and couples, anytime Gambit and Rogue got focused on, it was unbelievable. It was just grand. It's like you couldn't get enough of this couple. That's how good they were. That's how good they were. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that, you could do more issues, more episodes in animation focusing on these two, and people would enjoy it. So, I mean, they even did a special X-Men anniversary issue with Gambit and Rogue on the cover. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Put them on the cover. What does that tell you? Tells you a lot, doesn't it? It tells me a lot. I'll say that. But to me, Gambit and Rogue, one of the best couples in comic books and in animation, definitely with a lot of potential in them. The chemistry was just off the charts, and I mean, what more can you say? What more can you say? So, That's why Gambit and Rogue are number 4 on this countdown. At number 3 on this countdown, you may hate me for this couple being this ranked this high. You may hate me for it, but you know what? This is my countdown. It is going to cause some controversy. But as a YouTube friend of mine said, controversy creates cash. Or controversy creates conversation. And at number 3 is Yogi Bear and Cindy Bear. Now you might say they should be ranked a lot lower, but you know what? It's my countdown, like I said. And again, controversy will create cash, or controversy will create conversation. But Cindy Bear and Yogi Bear is a great couple, in my opinion. This couple began, believe it or not, in the 1960s in the Yogi Bear show. Sort of started off in a way in the animated short Acrobatic Bear, then really took off in Ruin Bruin, and then really established themselves with the Hey There, It's Yogi Bear animated film in 1964. And the relationship was always still there. When Cindy Bear made a guest appearance twice in Yogi's Gang, it was there. When she made a guest appearance in Treasure Hunt, it was there. When she co-starred, even though she appeared about 40-something minutes later in Yogi's First Christmas, it was there. The new Yogi Bear show in the 80s, it was there. Yogi and the Invasion of Space Bears, it was there. I mean, folks, this couple is probably one of the most popular animated couples of all time, in my opinion. I mean, you look here on YouTube, there are people that have done fan vids on them. You look on DeviantArt and probably Furfinian, there are probably people that have done some fan art on them. But I'm telling you in all honest opinion that Yogi Bear and Cindy Bear are probably one of the best top animated couples of all time, in my opinion. You know, animation, comic book wise, I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, Cindy Bear, she will speak her mind to Yogi. There's no doubt about it. But it's because she loves Yogi so much that she's willing to speak her mind. I mean, it was confirmed in Yogi and the Invasion of the Space Bears that she had been in love with Yogi since they were cubs. And speaking of that, it shows in Yogi, that teenage version of him, that it's there. But again, it's the potential that these two have. It's the chemistry that works. I mean, you watch Yogi's First Christmas, Cindy Bear, after she makes her appearance and after Boo Boo introduces her to the mistletoe aspect of Christmas, tries for most of the film at times to succeed in getting Yogi under the mistletoe, and believe it or not, she does. She gets him under the mistletoe after Yogi is promoted to head of security, and as he's trying to pluck the mistletoes that she planted all over, that she hung all over the ceiling at the Jellystone Lodge, as he's plucking them down, he slips off the ladder, falls on his butt. The bowl of mistletoes, the bowl that he's been gathering the mistletoes in, he's been putting them in, falls on top of him, and she gets him. And then he kisses her at the end and dubs her Miss Jellystone. Again, the chemistry has always been there. It's always been workable. And you know, they offer so much. I mean, you take a look at a lot of the official artwork by Hanna-Barbera. If that doesn't show you that they offer a lot, I don't know what does and what doesn't. So to me, Yogi Bear and Cindy Bear definitely deserve to be number 3. Again, I know people may say, you know, that's stupid, they should be lower. But again, it's my countdown, it's my opinion, and hey, if it's controversy that's going to create conversation, so be it. But to me, Yogi and Cindy definitely rank up there as the top 3. And let's face it, folks, they had been around longer, and I hate to say this because I'm a fan of the other couples I just talked about. They had been around longer than the likes of a Gambit, a Rogue, a Jean Grey, a Scott Summers, you know. Not as long as Donald and Daisy, I will say that, not as long. But they've been around a lot longer than a majority of the others. So that is why, in my opinion, they deserve to be up here. And with the potential that she's going to be showing up in the sequel down the road when it comes out, possibly, what more can you ask for there? So that is why, in my opinion, because of the chemistry they have and for how much they offer as a couple, Cindy Bear and Yogi Bear are number 3 on my countdown. All right, at number 2, this may cause controversy, but at number 2 is one of the first couples in animation. And whether they're anamorphic, human, or whatever, they set the standard. They have set the standard for animated couples. They have set the standard for the others, and they set the standard for who eventually is going to be number 1, and I think you'll know who it is in just a little bit. But I'll keep you guessing. But at number 2 is the most legendary animated couple, comic books, animation, feature films, you name it. And I'm talking about Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Mickey and Minnie Mouse, what more can you say about them? What more can you say that no one else has said? I mean, when Walt Disney created these characters back in the 20s, back in the late 20s, early 30s, they were instant hits with the crowd. I mean, the merchandise with them together was just flying off shelves. I mean, you could not go and visit Disneyland and Disney World. You could not watch the Walt Disney Christmas Day Parade. You could not watch the Easter Day Parade without seeing them together. You cannot go and read a Walt Disney comic book back in the 60s and all that, back in the 30s, back in the 40s, 60s, and up to today. You couldn't watch a comic book you couldn't read a comic book, I should say, without seeing them together in it. You couldn't watch a show with them that had them in there without them together in it. I mean, the potential was all. I mean, they just had unbelievable chemistry from the day they were created to today. They just had unbelievable chemistry. I mean, it's like, what more could you ask out of these characters? I mean, they starred in featurettes together. They starred in animated shorts together. I mean, it's like, what more could you ask for? I mean, they starred in a featurette. The most recent featurette they starred in, as far as I know, was back in the mid-90s with Runaway Brain. I mean, folks, they have had unbelievable chemistry from the first day Walt drew them, or had them drawn and created. The first day. And it hasn't stopped since. I mean, they established, like I said, a legacy that many have had to follow with their couples. Whether they're comic book couples, animation couples, they set the standard, and that standard is still being set today, and the bar for that standard is being raised higher and higher and higher every day with these two. Some may say that there are those out there that have surpassed them. Believe it or not, there's not anybody that has surpassed these two. Not many, except for maybe who's going to come out as number 1. But they set the standard for the couples before or on this countdown, and for the couple that's going to be named number 1 in just a little bit. But they set the standard. You cannot ask for anything more from these two. Those that have followed and those that will follow, couple-wise, animation or comic book wise, is because of them. And that's why Mickey and Minnie are number 2 on the countdown. And that is why, because of their inspiration, because they set the standard that this couple, whether you like it or not, is number 1 on the countdown. And the number 1 animated / comic book couple on this countdown. I know a lot of people will hate when I say this. Some will love it. But it's like I said, Mickey and Minnie set the standard, and they have reached that standard. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm probably on the same level right now as Mickey and Minnie, or close to it. But because of their fan bases, individually and together as a couple, the support that they have had has been off the charts. Ladies and gentlemen, number 1, and this may cause controversy, but controversy creates cash. Controversy creates conversation. But number 1 on this top 10 animated couples countdown is Sonic the Hedgehog and Princess Sally Acorn. Now, again, I know people may not like this, but again, it's controversial. You want to make your own top 10 couples countdown on animation and comic book couples? Go ahead. But to me, these two have set the standard. When it comes to modern day couples in comic books and animation. They have set the standard. And they are right there on that same level as Mickey and Minnie. Or close to it. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. Despite whether you like this couple or not, and believe me, there are a lot of people. There's a lot of people that don't like them. Whether you like this couple or not, you've got to admit they have strong chemistry. Very strong chemistry. I mean, you could break them up like they've been done before. You can break them up. You can bring them back together, break them up again, bring them back together. People who are fans of this couple enjoy it. They may not like it at times when you break them up, but it's intriguing. It makes the chemistry between the two more real. And that's what fans like about it. It makes them feel more for the characters. And despite whether or not the princess may survive after October due to this Genesis story arc, is another story. But I will say this, folks. Since 1993, these two have really set a standard when it comes to animation and comic book couples based on anything. Video games, other franchises, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll give you an example of how big this fan base is for these characters together and individually. I've said this before, I will say this again. Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, when he did commentary for his Sonic the Hedgehog review, where he reviewed both Adventures and Sat AM, he said when he was doing research for Sat AM, he Googled the name, and up came pictures of Sally, and he was surprised at how many fans loved Sally, how huge the fan base was. He was surprised at how much fan art and stuff was drawn of her in bikinis and making her look seductive. And it's like, to him, he was like, holy shit. He couldn't believe it. And if you think him finding something on her like that was unbelievable, just put in Sonic and Sally, or Son Sal, or San Alley, or whatever you want to call it, and you're going to see exactly, you Google that and you'll see how big the fan base is. How big the support is for this couple. And again, a lot of people may not like when the writers break them up at times for a while and then bring them back together. But you know what? It makes the chemistry and the relationship more real, and that's what fans like about it. I mean, a friend of mine here on YouTube, and she's got a section, a channel, if you will, on that fellow in the coat.com, Rashitsu, or Danielle, when she did her retrospective on Sonic, and she talked about Sonic's ADM, she said that in the first season, Sonic and Sally got kind of bickered with each other, got on each other's nerves, but there was still an attraction. And at the end of the series, they became a couple. How many more can say that? How many animated series or comic books can say that? That, oh, when we get to the end of the comic book, the two people that have always bickered with each other are now a couple. How many could say that? Not many. Not many, folks. And that is why this couple has become so popular with the fan base. I mean, I know my decision for them being number one, like I said, will create controversy. It will create people screaming and yelling and saying, "Oh, you're biased. You're a Sonic Sally freak. Or you're a sicko," and all that. Well, you know what, folks? Again, it's my countdown. It's my opinion. And if it's controversy that's going to create conversation, so be it. It's like the saying, controversy creates cash. This creates conversation. So, to me, this is why, because of the chemistry they've had, the history that they have, what they've gone through in the comic books and in the animated series, why Sonic and Sally is the number one animated comic book couple, in my opinion, of all time. You can argue with that. You can make your own top 10 animated comic book couples of all time. Go ahead. But this, to me, is why they're number one. And that's all I'm going to say. Well, I hoped you enjoyed this top 10 animated comic book countdown couples video of mine. Again, I know it's going to create a lot of controversy, but as I've been saying throughout it, controversy creates cash, or in this case, creates conversation. And folks, you have to realize these are my opinions. It's not the opinions of the whole damn world. It's not the opinions of anybody else. It's not the opinions of everybody that's done a countdown video here on YouTube, or at thatguywiththeglasses.com, or at blint.tv, or Dailymotion, or at thatfellowinthecoat.com, or cinemassacre.com. These are my opinions, not theirs. And again, if you want to, go ahead, make your own top 10 animated comic book couples video. Put who you believe is the top 10. But to me, these are the top 10 of all time. Now you might say, well, most of it has been anamorphic. Yes, it has been mostly anamorphic, I will admit that, but there have been a few human-like characters from the X-Men. Get the idea? I threw those in there, so you can't really say it's all anamorphic. And you can't say it's because I'm a furry freak or a sicko. This is just my countdown, my opinions, and like I said, it's not the opinions of the whole world. It's not the opinions of anybody else. These are mine. And if it creates controversy, that controversy is going to create a lot of conversation with people here on the YT. It's going to create a lot of controversy with people at message boards and stuff. So be it. It will create the conversation that it needs to get people talking. So I hope you enjoyed this countdown. Give me your comments down below, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll talk to you later.